Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. So the other day I'm scrolling through some of Fidelity's marketing materials, and let me tell you, if anyone knows how to put some serious money and effort into their content, it's Fidelity. But what really caught my eye was this chart showing average annual household spending by age group. And there was one big takeaway. For most Americans, and especially retirees, spending tends to decline as we age. And that got me thinking, what if we use this data to design the perfect retirement portfolio? Not just some rule of thumb generic number, but rather a portfolio that actually matches how people spend as they age. So in this video, we're going to build realistic portfolios for people who want to retire at 55, 60, 65, and 70. Based on average actual spending patterns, and the question we're going to answer is, exactly how much would you need to sustain that lifestyle depending on when you retire? A huge part of this calculation comes down to Social Security, and when you claim Social Security has a massive impact on what your portfolio will need to look like. If you claim early, you receive a reduced benefit. If you delay past full retirement age, which is currently between 66 and 67, you receive a higher benefit. And since Fidelity's data is based on a two-person household, we're going to assume the average Social Security payments for two people. According to SSA data, that ranges from about $1,200 per month if you claim at 62 up to $2,100 per month if you wait until the age of 70. And here's a key concept we're going to be working with, a bridge strategy to Social Security, meaning how much do you need your investments to cover of your spending until your benefits kick in? So with that said, let's get to building that bridge. All right, so let's start with the first scenario, retiring at 55 and claiming Social Security at 62. Now, if you're retiring early, you're naturally going to need a larger portfolio because for most of us, there is no Social Security available until at least the age of 62. And for this example, we're assuming there's no other income sources like a pension. So naturally, your portfolio is going to have to carry all of the weight. It is your only income source. When I think about this portfolio, I like to break it into phases because how much you need and how much risk you can take changes over time. Phase 1 is early retirement, pre-Social Security. In this case, it's ages 55 to 61. And during this early phase, I want to be conservative. So I'm only going to assume a rate of return of 4%, and I'm going to assume a withdrawal of 3% during this time. Because you're retiring early, we want to be a little bit more conservative. Phase 2 is from 62 to 64. It's still early retirement, but now Social Security kicks in. So you're not relying as heavily on your portfolio, and we're moving into a more traditional age. So at this time, I'm going to increase the rate of return assumption to 7%, and I'm going to increase the rate of withdrawal. I'm going to use 5%. Phase 3, from age 65 to 74, is when we see the first spending decline, and then phase 4 is another drop in spending for ages 75 and beyond. Remember, all of this is based on that Fidelity data showing us that household spending declines as we age. And I know this is a lot of groundwork to lay, but I want you to understand where these numbers are coming from before we dive in. And with that being said, here's how I'm going to calculate the portfolios we need. First is to figure out the total withdrawals needed at each phase. Next, I'll calculate the present value of those withdrawals, basically how much you'd need invested today to cover them. And finally, I'm going to add a 15% buffer because I like having some cushion for unexpected expenses. All right, finally, let's break it down by phases. So during phase 1, when your annual spending is just above $83,000 and you're not yet collecting Social Security, you would need roughly $600,000 to cover this period. Now again, because this is money you need immediately, you're going to want to keep a decent chunk of it, 2, 3, 4 years worth in cash-like accounts. Maybe that's high-yield savings accounts, CDs, maybe it's money market funds, but you want it to be readily accessible and not really fluctuating too much in value. And this is why we're fairly conservative with the rate of return on these funds. As we go into phase 2, Social Security kicks in at this point, and with each person now bringing in $1,200 a month or $28,800 for the year, we're still maintaining our same spending level, but now our withdrawals from our portfolio drop significantly. So the approximate portfolio needed at this stage is about $134,000. As we go into phase 3, ages 65 to 74, spending declines during this period. And for this 10-year 7-year period, we would need roughly $160,000. And then finally, in phase 4, for age 75 to 90, we would need roughly $73,000. And once we add all the phases of this portfolio together, we get that we need a total portfolio of about $965,000. Now, at first glance, you might be thinking, whoa, that is a really low number compared to traditional financial advice, especially for an early retirement. And there's good reasons for this. You know, something like the rule of 4%, that assumes that your spending is static, fixed. It never changes. But study after study shows that spending tends to decline with age. Plus, those traditional models often don't factor in other income sources like Social Security or a pension, which can dramatically reduce how much you need to withdraw from your portfolio. Once Social Security kicks in, that takes a huge amount of pressure off your portfolio. Also keep in mind that traditional financial planning models often have people leaving an inheritance behind to their beneficiaries. That's a great goal if it's something you want to do, but that is not what's being modeled here. This is just intended to cover your actual spending in retirement. And I would argue looking at real-life spending patterns is planning smarter, not riskier. Now, what if instead of an early retirement at 55, our retirees decide to retire at a more traditional age? Still a bit early, but this time with our retirees retiring at the age of 60 and claiming Social Security at the age of 62. We'll still break this retirement down into 4 phases because they do have 2 full years that they need to fund strictly from their investments before Social Security kicks in. So let's look at how their spending adjusts over time. During phase 1, our retirees might need $188,000 in their portfolio. Once Social Security kicks in, the spending level is still higher, but that portfolio need during this phase would be closer to $163,000. When spending declines from age 65 to 74, the portfolio needed would be about $224,000. And finally, when spending again declines from age 75 and beyond, the portfolio at this point would need to be about $102,000. Adding all of this together for a portfolio with a 95% success rate would give us a total portfolio needed of about $677,000. As you can see, delaying your retirement significantly reduces how much of a portfolio you need. At this point, you need a smaller bridge prior to Social Security kicking in. What if we consider that our retirees want to retire at 60, but each want to wait until full retirement age of 67 to claim their Social Security benefits, at which point their benefit would be $1,700 a month? Well, here's what their phases would look like. We see during phase 1, there's significantly more stress on their portfolio, and we need a much larger buffer. In total, this portfolio would need to be closer to $752,000 for that same 95% success rate. Now, in this case, we absolutely need a more robust portfolio to bridge the gap until Social Security kicks in. But we also notice that it takes a lot of pressure off the portfolio in the later years of retirement because you're receiving a higher benefit. Ultimately, it comes down to what is most important to you. Do you want to claim early and take a little stress off your portfolio in those earlier years, or do you want to delay claiming and receive a higher monthly benefit? That can go a long way to creating more of a sense of security in your later years of retirement. Next up, let's do a more traditional retirement age of 65. And each of our retirees waiting until full retirement age of 67 to claim Social Security, at which point they would each receive $1,700 a month. During phase 1, for the first 2 years, 100% of the draw would be coming from their investments to fund this $65,000 in annual spending. The portfolio at this point would need to be about $147,000. During phase 2, I still assume another 2 years worth of conservative investments just for added security, and then more aggressive growth. The total portfolio at this point would be $176,000. And for age 75 and beyond, the total portfolio here would need to be about $72,000 for a total portfolio of just under $400,000. Waiting until 65 to retire again takes so much pressure off your investments. Also, we have the added bonus that we've delayed claiming Social Security, which gives us a higher benefit, and this creates more of a sense of security because of that guaranteed income source. And let's quickly do the last one. If you work until the age of 70 and delay claiming Social Security until the age of 70. At which point, based on the Social Security figures we've used, if these individuals delay claiming until the age of 70, they would each be receiving $2,100 a month. For the first phase of this retirement, assuming investments are conservatively held, this portion of the portfolio would need to be about $79,000. And for the second phase, assuming a little bit more aggressive growth, but very little needs from the portfolio at this point, this portion of the portfolio might only need to be about $25,000 or so. So our retirees might need just over $100,000 for this retirement. With max Social Security benefits and Social Security covering the vast majority of their expenses, there's very little needs from the portfolio itself. Now, with all of these scenarios, there are definitely risks you need to watch out for. And the longer your retirement, the more important these risks become. What if lifestyle inflation creeps in, especially if you retire at a young age? Maybe you travel more, maybe you pick up expensive hobbies. What if you live longer than expected? What if medical expenses increase faster than you expected? What if the market performs poorly during your initial years of retirement? That's why I always recommend a very strong several years worth of cash buffer. And of course, inflation could be higher than expected, more aggressively chipping away at your purchasing power. And keep in mind, based on how this information is presented from Fidelity, it's probably not a reality. We're probably not going to see these cliff drop-offs in spending. Rather, it's probably going to be a gradual taper over time. All of these are very real factors to consider when you're planning your retirement. Also, when you choose to retire and when you claim Social Security have a huge impact on your portfolio size that you're going to need, as we've seen. And now for my usual disclaimer, these numbers are averages. They are not specific to you. They are meant to illustrate how the age you retire and when you claim Social Security can greatly shape the portfolio you need. What your actual portfolio will need to be depends on your lifestyle, your spending, and your health. But hopefully it goes to show that retirement at any of these ages could very well be a possibility, and it inspires you to run these calculations for your own needs. What are your thoughts on these portfolios? Leave them in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. Have fun with that one. There's a lot of content. I'm so sorry. I forgot my earrings. I'm gonna go put them in. It's based on a 2-person household. We're going to sue at That's a lot of words coming out all at once. Slow it down. I got this. Let's do. I'm off center. Why didn't no one tell me? Because I'm sitting here alone. Okay, is that better? Let's kick in. So without further, all right. So. All right. Who doesn't love Matthew McConaughey? He's like the best. Oh, love him so much. It's great if you want to leave wealth behind. Is spending. I think I said spending. Okay. At which point, still have good mornings pouring in. I think it's really important. It like makes me like smile, start my day. You know, good morning. So important. If you can do something little to make someone's day worth it, can shape the portfolio needs.